Right now, though, let's get stuck into a fight that was announced a little earlier on. Listen, we've tried to get hold of Jack Catterall, but he must have gone knee-deep into camp straight away. That's what he must have done because he's got a heck of a fight on his hands. You will have seen that on the 5th of July, Manchester is the destination. Jack Catterall is going to be back in action following his last fight out against Arnold Barboza, where he came up short. And he will be taking on Harlem Eubank. Both of these guys are going to be competing. I mean, it says on my little sheet here, like welterweight, but it's not. It's welterweight. I think it's full welterweight that they're going to be fighting at. 147 pounds, both boys up in weight. And the 147 division, especially on that domestic scene, because we're going to be speaking to Eko Osman very shortly, who's taking on Josh Taylor. You've got Conor Benn, who could, I think, get back down to 147 and be part of this conversation as well. It's starting to get a little bit interesting. But what do you make, first and foremost, of Jack Catterall, Harlem Eubank going at it at welterweight?
Well, obviously, Jack Catterall suffered a very close loss to Arnold Barboza, who in turn went to the Big Ring magazine event at Times Square and lost to Tio Lopez.
Yeah. Convincing. Let's be honest.
He was brilliant.
Tio beat him quite comfortably.
Didn't listen to his corner all night, Tio, but was like a jack in the box. Beautiful performance. Just below the level of the fight he fought against Josh Taylor. I was there live, and he was just interplanetary in his movement, and he's interplanetary in his mindset at times as well. He is a spaceman, let's be honest about it, and we love Tio for that reason. What I wonder about this, Adam, is going back to Jack Catterall losing to Arnold Barboza. Was he struggling, and was he tight at the weight? And the extra £7, what is he, 32, 33 now? The extra pounds making life a lot easier for him. Harlem Eubank has got better and better and better. Looked fantastic against Tyron McKenna in Brighton in his last performance. He impresses me more than more. Obviously, Chris Eubank Sr. comes into play here as well, who's his guide and his uncle. Obviously, Harlem has lost his father in recent times as well. So it's wonderful to see Eubank Sr. there in the corner and managing him as well and guiding him. I like the fight. I think it'll be fun. I think it's a fun fight. Hard fight for Harlem Eubank, in my view, because Catterall is very difficult to break down. Yeah.
Listen, it's interesting. The weight thing is the interesting part of this conversation for me, because obviously off the back of the defeat to Arnold Barboza, I think it's easy to then make the reference that I'm tight at the weights, therefore I'm moving in a particularly different direction. And that might be the case for Jack. I'm interested as to why Harlem has made this decision to make the move, because like you've just said, last time out against Tyron McKenna was absolutely his best performance so far. I thought he looked really, really good. And I genuinely thought that there might be conversations there where we can start to flirt his name around with the likes of the Adam Azeems of this world, with the likes of the Dalton Smiths. And don't get me wrong, those two boys are a little bit maybe further ahead, and they're charging up the tables at the 148-pound division. But I think that Harlem could absolutely get in the mix with some of these people and really start to challenge. It's interesting that he's made the jump weight-wise, obviously for the opportunity. Jack Catterall's the biggest name that he's absolutely faced so far in his career. And as you look around at 147 on that domestic scene, as I've just highlighted there, there's some nice little names here.
There's a Conor Benn there as well.
Well, this is the interesting thing, isn't it?
Well, they've talked about it.
Well, this is the interesting thing for me, because everybody knows where my head's at regarding Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn and that rematch and the weight disparity and all that type of stuff. But if somebody was to come to me and present to me Conor Benn versus Harlem Eubank, then that becomes more of a legitimate chat, because both of these guys are very close to each other in weight. And ability-wise, I actually think they're quite close together. I think Harlem Eubank is a very, very talented lad.
And it's very much a bull and the matador in that one, because Harlem is very much a boxer in my view.
Yeah.
And Conor is going to come and be bullish. I think it's a terrific stylistic matchup, because Conor will bring it.
But with all due respect to Harlem, as he enters this 147 division, he's probably the lesser, I mean, he carries the Eubank name, so this might be a little bit of juxtaposing with what I'm saying, but he's the lesser profiled guy when we're talking about the abilities and where he resonates with the fans. So people know who Jack is, obviously, with everything that happened with Josh Taylor. People know who Josh Taylor is, of course. And then everybody knows who Conor Benn is. So he's probably at the bottom of that rung if we're trying to get him in the mix with those fights. But if he beats Jack Catterall, all of a sudden, then he gets himself into that conversation. And I'm sure every single one of those guys is chasing Conor, because Conor's probably the money in the division right now, isn't he?
He is the golden goose.
Bar Ryan Garcia, of course.
Yeah, no, but he is. Over here, he certainly is. And we saw Conor Benn resonate over in New York a couple of weeks back, and everybody wanted him on. The TV stations wanted him on. It's like he was a conquering hero over there, even though he'd lost the fight. I think there's also, to go back to why Jack Catterall, not Adam Catterall, Jack Catterall is at 147.
I wish I were at 147, mate.
Which we call welterweight. When was the last time you were at 147? 10 stone 7.
I was about 12.
Exactly, yeah. Maybe 15, yeah. Is obviously that Josh Taylor is at 147 as well. And if they both win in the next couple of months, then we could have a trilogy between them, which is doable as well. We've had two very good fights with them.
I think that makes the most sense.
Maybe it does.
I think if Josh is successful next week, and don't get me wrong, I think he's got a tough task on his hands.
Very physical at Esselman.
Echo Osman's no joke.
So, well, we'll talk to him tonight, won't we?
Yeah.
And weirdly, what might be interesting about that fight is I think they were on the British team together at one point, or they've sparred with each other quite a lot.
Right.
My understanding is so they know each other. So for Josh Taylor to, I'll mention it a couple of times tonight, to find Hank again, his alter ego that comes out in fight week that makes him hate his opponent, which he needs that fire in his belly. It might be difficult because I think they both respect each other a lot.
Yeah, listen, they're both talented lads, and I think it's a good fight next week. I really do. So the winner of that, again, I mean, Echo Osman's another name there that you could bring into this conversation. A proper 147 who's going to be... He'll have his eyes on some of these names that we're referring to too. So regarding the Jack Catterall Harlem Eubank fight, I actually think from a name value, something coming off the back of the world title eliminator loss for Jack Catterall, I think it's great. And from Harlem Eubank point of view, listen, stepping up in weight and you get the name value for a guy that many people think should have been world champion at one point in his career. Listen, I think it's a win-win for Harlem Eubank because he can go up. Whatever, if he's not successful, he could always then say, I'm actually a 140, so I'm going back down. But if he's successful, he's in the mix with some big names.
Harlem Eubank is one of those guys who's been doing his work in the wings and
low key,
and
just
in
bubbling
a
away.
Low key way, and he's a man. He's not a boy. He's a man, and he's done all his work. He's got his man strength, and he's a very, very secure person. Every time I've been around him or talked to him, he's very balanced. He's got that Eubank thing they've all got. He's got a presence.
Yeah, but he's done it the hard way. Nobody's
given
him a leg up.
He has done it the hard way.
Yeah.
And like I'm saying, he's been in the wings. And when he's been moved out into the spotlight as the understudy, if you like, he's never fluffed his lines. And that impresses me about him.
No, last time out, he was great. And it's going to be interesting to see how he deals with Manchester and Jack Catterall. So it should be a good night of boxing that first week of July.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.